got it pretty nice with this modern machinery. It just is amazing, the capabilities of the modern machinery. We could thresh, I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 bushels a day or more, 1,000 bushels an hour, I guess. And it just defies imagination compared to what we used to do. These old pull combines, like I'm talking about, pulling with a Caterpillar tractor, you get 2,000 bushels to 3,000 bushels was a huge day. And the grain was all put in burlap bags. Nowadays they've got nice bulk tanks on the combines that hold 200-300 bushels. And when that's full, they order it into a grain cart or buggy, and it takes it down to the corner of the field, puts it in the truck, and away it goes down the hill to the river. But in the days of where I'm talking about, everything was put in a burlap bag. And these burlap bags measured about 2 feet across and about 3 feet high when they were. And we would buy those in bundles of 500 empty burlap bags. They'd tie them with a wire. They were kind of hard to handle, those bales. We call them bales of burlap bags. But there'd be a salesman come around before harvest and take your order. You kind of knew about how many bags you were going to need. So you'd put your order in. The bags would cost 2 or 3 cents a piece. And if they went up half a cent, the expenses were just chasing us clear off the ranch. You know. So anyway, these bags then, in the morning when you started harvesting or at noon, if you would need, you'd take more of these empty bags, put them on the combine for the sack sewers, because they were going to be filling those sacks all day long. The grain, after it was threshed in the combine, it came up the elevator, and instead of going into the bulk tank, like it does now, it went into a chute that then was divided at the end of that chute, and you could hang 2 sacks, one sack on each side of the chute. And there were sack hangers there to do that, and then you would fill 1 sack, and when that sack was full, you'd have a guy jigging it, you know, and when it was full, he'd take it off of the hangers and set it over in front of the sack sewer to sew it up, and he would switch that grain to the other side, fill the other sack, and hang another empty back where the full one had come off. And that was pretty smooth. It took good cooperation, and wasn't easy standing all the time and rocking around over ditches, and you know, Deppers got a little short sometime. He crossed a ditch and jerked the guys on the combine. But anyway, that was the way the sacks were. And when the sack sewer got through sewing the sacks, he had a way of putting a loop around one ear. That was the ear we called it. And he'd take about 13 stitches and jerk that string tight. No, 6 or 8 stitches, you jerk the string tight a time or two, and sew the sack shut and put an ear on the other end. And when that sack was full and tied, sewed, why, he would just kind of roll it over to his side. And on the combine, there was a sack chute right down along the side of the combine. The lower end of that chute was only about 1 foot from the ground. So that chute would hold about 6 sacks before when the shack was full. The chute was full, and then when the chute was full, why, he would trip a lever, and the sacks would all slide out right on, and as the combine was moving along. And they'd be left laying in a nice neat row, you know, in the field. And then they would try to do that the same place every round, you know, so then the guys went out in the field to pick up those sacks. They didn't have to hunt every square foot of the field. They'd find where there was a tier of sacks, and they would go from the outside edge of the field, clear up the hill, and clear across the field, you know. So that's the way they did it, and you had to be very careful. We would count those sacks that went onto the empty sacks that went onto the combine, because that was the only way you had any idea how much your wheat was making, how many sacks you had. And then when the fellows came with trucks to haul those sacks out of the field, their count had to tally up with the count of empty sacks that was put on the combine, because if it didn't, that's the only way they'd know if there was still some full sacks out in the field that they needed to find. And in the stubble, sometimes it was real hard to find all of those sacks. And you had to do it because after the grain harvest was over and the sacks were out of the field, they'd turn horses and cows out in the stubble field to glean any feed that was out there, and the livestock get a good job of that. So those sack haulers had to find all those sacks, and they get them out of the field, and then we turn the stock in the field for the fall till the field was worked again. But that was pretty standard.